welcome to my problem set number 4. So for this problem set, we are creating a set for 3 different types of categories, but it's all falling under a 2x2 factorial design. For for letter A, main effect for factor A needs the average for row A1 and row A2. So these are just random numbers I put together to show you a 2x2 design for my factorial. So for here, as I was saying, you have to do the average for row A1 and row A2. So 5 plus 3 divided by 2 equals 4. 4 plus 2 divided by 2 equals 3. And you subtract 4 from 3, because we're still trying to find the average between the two rows, and that equals 1. So our factorial main effect is 1. So for letter B, to get the main effect for factor B, you would need to average columns instead of rows like we did for letter A, columns B1 and B2. So as you can see, I used my same numbers to make it easier, and we're just gonna, well, actually it's the same problem, somewhat, kind of, anyways. So we're gonna do the columns instead. So as we did in letter A, I showed you how to average the rows. Well, problem B, you show how to average the columns. So 5 plus 4 divided by 2, 4.5. 3 plus 2 divided by 2, 2.5. And you subtract 4.5 from 2.5 to get the average for the columns of B in all. And so factor B's main effect is 2. So for part C, we're trying to find the interaction, trying to see if there's an interaction between our factors for A and B. So in order to do an interaction, you would have to subtract. Actually, there's 2 ways to do it, but the way I'm going to do it, you can subtract. I find it easier subtracting a row A2 from row A1. So as I'm showing you, this is 4 minus 5 equals negative 1. 2 minus 3 equals negative 1. Therefore, there is no interaction because there is no difference. They're equal. So in this problem set, we are doing something different. We are getting the main effect for factor A, but we're trying to find the main effect for factor A and an interaction, but no main effect for factor B. So as you can see, this is a different problem with different numbers, and I'm going to break down how exactly I found main effect for factor A and an interaction, but not for factor B. So as before, you have 650, that is 350 plus 300, that's 650 divided by 2 equals 325. Then you have 250 plus 350 is 550 divided by 2 equals 275. You subtract these to get the average for rows A1 and A2, and you get 50. Therefore, I don't know if you can see me press changing colors, but therefore factor A, main effect, I'm just going to put main E equals 50. So using the same formula that I had, same problem that I had before, for the next set, to get main effect for factor B, you need average columns for B1 and B2. Well, I'm sorry, for it to not be a main effect is what I meant. So we're not looking for a main effect for factor B. So for right here, I showed you columns B1 and B2. So 350 plus 250, 600. 600 divided by 2 is 300. For B2, 300 plus 300 is 600. 600 plus 2, divided by 2 is 300. That's us finding the average to see if there's a main effect. To continue with our average, we have B1 equaling 300, B2 equaling 300. So 300 minus 300, therefore, equals, of course, 0. Meaning that in order to have a main effect, there has to be a difference. And since there's no difference, it equals 0 and it's both 300. There's no main effect for factor B. And this is me just showing that there's no effect for factor B. So our next part is interaction. To get an interaction, we need the difference as we did in problem part A. We need the difference from row A2 and A1. So A2 and A1 consists of 250 minus 350 is negative 100, and 300 minus 300 equals 0. Therefore, to get an interaction, it has to be equal. But since they're not equal, there's no interaction. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. When it is equal, there is no interaction. So we're trying to get an interaction, and since they're not equal, therefore we have an interaction. There it goes. So to sum it up for letter B, there is no main effect for B because there is no difference within the effect. It equals 0, unlike factor A where there is a main effect because there is a difference. There's an interaction because the difference between the rows and the columns aren't equal. So, So for problem C, we're trying to find a main effect for both factors and an interaction. So I have a new equation, and I'm showing you, since as we did before, finding the average first for rows A and row A1 and row A2. Therefore, the factorial main effect for this one is 1.5. So for our next part, as we did in the other problems, to get the main effect for factor B, you need the average column for B1 and B2. Therefore, I have the equation spelled out. 8 plus 6 equals 14 divided by 2 equals 7. 4 plus 3 equals 7 divided by 2 equals 3.5. I'm sorry. And since we're trying to find the average for both columns, 7 minus 3.5 equals 3.5. Therefore, factorial B's main effect equals 3.5. As we did before, to get the interaction, you are subtracting rows A2 from A1. So we're subtracting 6 minus 8 equals 2, and we can't have a negative in this equation, so you just make that a positive. 3 minus 4 equals negative 1, which makes it a positive 1. Therefore, it's not equal. When it's not equal, there is an interaction. So that sums up my equation for letter C, saying that there is a main effect for both factors A and B because the difference is 1.5 and 3.5. Therefore, an interaction has occurred because differences aren't equal. So thank you. Hope you enjoy my problem set number 4.